We all want to trust in somebody sometime within our lives. And many times we can't find that person, so we start to trust in ourselves. And when we falter, when we fail, then we say, well, we could have done better. And we look over what we could have done better. And then we practice on doing better. But that's not a level of faith. The trust in which we need is a trust in God, that through any storm, any trial of our faith, He will bring us through it. And this is where this message comes from, because a level is simply that, a level. It's a standard. It's the fundamentals of life, something you absolutely need to have as being a saint in God. So don't just be in the faith, but have the level of faith which is described by God that we should have. Stay tuned for this message. The trust we need. In Luke 17, verse 1 to 2, it says in verse 1, "Then said he unto the disciples, It is impossible, but that offenses will come. But woe unto him through whom they come." So we have to learn that we are automatically in this life going to go through things that feel overwhelming at times. And maybe we're going to hit conflicts from family, maybe it's going to be friends, or maybe it's co-workers, people we once trusted, and people that we may still trust. But we have to learn as being saints that these things happen not only to reveal our weaknesses, but also that we may display our strengths. And our strength is not within ourselves, right? It's in God. The trust that we need to have is a trust that God is who He says He is. And what He says is, I will never leave you, nor would I ever forsake you. So that's something that we have to remind ourselves. If we remind ourselves and we really believe in these words, they're the fundamentals, they're the tools in which we need in this world. Because all Satan wants us to do is forget the fundamentals, the things that really matter in this life. Is not who offended you, is not how they made you feel, but is the trust in which we have, and did it waver, right, through the storm. So we see this shown when God, or rather Jesus, is in the lower parts of the ship. He's asleep when the ship is being tossed to and fro. Every chaos was happening. But he had the trust, right? He had the trust that if God is going to deliver him, He's going to deliver him. And whether he live, whether he die, it really doesn't matter, because he's really living the life. And we don't want to be serving God in order to, as a shield, right? In order to not go through trials of faith. We serve God as the foundation, that whatsoever we go through, we have something that we could go back to, right? Because yes, people come and they hurt us, and our feelings get hurt, and our minds are discombobulated. We just don't know where we are, who we are at times. But God is there to remind us that we're nothing more than flesh and blood. But we have the Spirit that will guide us and redirect us towards what really matters, and that's God. In verse 2, it says, "It were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and he cast into the sea, than that he should offend one of these little ones." God has your back. And what we have to remind ourselves on top of His promises is that He's not going to allow anyone to hurt you and get away with it. And what that means is not that He's going to seek vengeance in a way that's going to hurt another person, but you could only do so much. He could, when someone hurts you or afflicts you or offenses come against you, you may feel as though, okay, well, I have enough power within myself to hurt that individual. I have enough words within my vocabulary in order to display how I feel. But you have to understand that never solves anything. But what God does is he allows that individual that may have hurt you to think about what they've done. And you may say, well, what's the big deal? Thinking. Well, the thing is, thinking doesn't stop. It could go into dreams, right? You can have thoughts all throughout the day. It could mess with your days. And I don't say that to say, well, man, God's going to mess with this person. But you have to understand he's going to get to that person's heart, that they will realize what they have done. And on the meanwhile, the strength in this word really comes in the fact that if you move on, they can't move on because they've done the deed. They've done something that is wrong against a child of God. And what God is going to do, he says, whom I love, I chasten. So he's going to chasten them to redirect them that, hey, this is not the way you want to live, because the children of God, they will always overcome. But if you're always the offender, you can never be the one that's overcoming the matter. And if you can't overcome, that means you can't live life. You can't be victorious the way that God depicts we should be. So the trust we need is not within ourselves and the multitude of words that we could say to one another, but it's just in the peace rather that we have. If we have peace, if we have silence, if we have patience through all the offenses, God reminds us that he'll take care of the rest and we don't have to do anything else. God bless.